Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your cold wallets in the DeFi world or decentralized finance world. You will need a device. This device is going to help you secure your cryptos and create what we're going to call your DeFi vault. And while there are a few different types of hardwares on the market, Ledger is the device I recommended, and Ledger Nano X is the model we'll be using in this training videos. Ledger have been around for a very long time. Their devices are bulletproof, and when it comes to DeFi specifically, Ledger is the most compatible hardware wallets. So if you haven't got your device, there's a link underneath. Just to be sure that you should get your device from the official link or manufacturer companies. I wouldn't recommend any third party site or Amazon, just for your own safety. With that being said, let's get started with our pre-recorded video from our presentations. This is a long video, so I'm gonna divide it into two different parts. So let's dive in.
And in this video, this is going to be the first step in the process to creating our DeFi vault, right? And so by now, ideally, you would have ordered your Ledger hardware wallet, and hopefully you received it because we're going to need it going forward, because it's with this device that we're going to generate a series of accounts that we can use on the blockchain, and all those accounts are going to be protected by a seed phrase, or as Ledger calls it, a recovery phrase, right? This is a set of 24 words. And we can see here on my screen that Ledger's even telling us, beware of phishing attacks. Ledger will never ask you for the 24 words of your recovery phrase, right? There's even an article, we'll link to some information below this video as well. And in this article, Ledger talks about the importance of just keeping that seed phrase or that recovery phrase protected and secure and under your purview only, right? Ledger will never ask you for it. Ledger support will never ask you for it. Nobody should be asking you for it. And if you ever run into any party that is, they are attempting to scam you, right? And you should not hand that over because it is the only way to break into your vault, right? That it is the key to your vault. And because you're using their physical devices that are offline, even Ledger cannot interact with your device in such a way where they can control it, deactivate it, or block it. They give you a nice little summary here. And so anyway, let's just get right to it, right? So we're going to go back to ledger.com because the first thing we're going to need to do is download the Ledger Live application for our computer, right? This is the app that we're going to use to set up the physical device, right? You probably purchased the Ledger Nano X or possibly the Nano S, right? Regardless of what hardware wallet you have, we are going to use the Ledger Live application to configure it. And so I'm going to go to the Ledger Live app area, and I can download it for my device here. And while it is possible to set up your Ledger on your phone, that is not a practice that we train on or recommend in this program. We do everything on essentially a laptop or desktop computer. And so just make sure you're following along with that aspect as well. And either if you're a Mac user, you could download it for Mac, or Windows user, download the Ledger Live app for Windows. Okay, and once the application downloads, you can go ahead and install it. And click Finish to run Ledger Live. Okay, so I'm going to stretch this to full screen here so we get a nice view of everything as we're setting it up. Okay, so we're going to click Get Started. And we're going to select the Ledger Nano X or whatever device we purchased. If you purchased the S Plus. And this is a good moment to pause and call attention to this part of the setup flow, right? Ledger's asking us if we're setting up a new device for the first time or if we had an existing set of accounts and we are just replacing the device, right? So this is a key idea to understand that your crypto does not live on the physical device. That's a common misconception. in the industry that people think that if something happens to this physical device, that they lose all their crypto. When in reality, the only thing that matters is that recovery phrase, right? That seed phrase. Because with that phrase, you can restore access to that set of accounts, which in reality exist on the blockchain, right? This is all a digital ledger. So this device, it's just a signature key. That's all it is. And so if you ever lost the device, or if it broke, or if something happened to it, you could always order another one and then go through this setup process and go through this flow here and select that you already have a recovery phrase, and you would be able to regain access to all of your funds. And so they kind of map out that flow for us here, but we're going to go with the first choice here and set up a new device. And so now it looks like they're giving us some basic understanding of kind of what I've been explaining to you thus far, right? They're saying your crypto assets are stored on the blockchain and you need a private key to access and manage them. And this key is going to be stored on your device, and you will be the only one who knows or has access to this key. And so you are in full control of your money, as they are putting it here. The next point is that this device is, as they call it, a cold storage wallet, right? Which means that this private key is never online. Even when you have your device connected with a USB cable to your computer and you're configuring it with the Ledger Life app, even then, you're not connected online with it. And this next point is that the purpose of this device is to validate transactions, right? You're signing off on transfers in and out of these accounts, which you're managing through this device as really a signature key, right? It's a signature key, and that's about it. And so now we can move forward here. And so they're telling us to make sure we have a good amount of time. They're telling you to carve out 30 minutes, grab something to write with, because as we generate this recovery phrase through the device, we're going to want to document it and write it down. So I'm going to hit OK, I'm ready. And now I could just simply follow the steps here. And so when you go through this flow here, you're going to connect your Ledger device to your computer with the USB cable, and you'll follow the on-screen instructions as they say here, right, where they kind of teach you that there's two buttons, a left button and a right button, and that's how you can toggle left and right to go through the menus. And pressing both buttons at the same time is kind of like left clicking on your mouse or pressing enter. It's to select whatever you're looking at. So they're going to give you some instructions on how to actually navigate the screen on the device, and they're going to ask you to set a PIN code. So you'll do these 4 things first, then hit next step. And this PIN code is kind of like a front-end password, right? It's just kind of like a soft lock. Think about how on your phone, you can set up a lock code to kind of sign in and out, pretty much the same concept here. So I'm going to toggle I understand and click set up PIN code. And so again, just follow the instructions and set up your PIN and hit next step. And be sure to take note of any recommendations they have. You know, they're basically telling you to make a good PIN, either 4 or 8 characters, not something simple, don't share it, etc. And when you're all done, you can hit get started. And so now you're going to generate and document the 24-word seed phrase. And again, Ledger will not know what it is. And they're telling you that they want you to acknowledge that if someone gets your secret recovery phrase or your seed phrase, then your assets become vulnerable, right? Because they have the key to the vault. So I'm going to acknowledge this and click the recovery phrase button here. And now in the box, they've included a recovery sheet for you to document these words. And you're going to go through the process of writing them down and then confirming them, right? And so you want to do this very slowly and carefully. This is probably the most important step in this entire process. And they give you the instructions here. They're going to tell you to write down word number 1, displayed on the physical nano, right? It's not going to be displayed on screen here. It's going to be displayed on the actual device. And you're going to write it down on the sheet. And then you can press the right button on your device to display the next word and write that word down in position 2, and so forth and so on. And you'll repeat this process for all of the words. And make sure you do this slowly and carefully. There's no rush on this process. And you can hit the left button to go back if you want to double check previous words and make sure you didn't make any mistakes. And so this will take you a few minutes. When you're done with this, you can go ahead and click next step. And now the next part of the process is that Ledger wants to verify that you've done this correctly, right? So you're going to have to confirm this recovery phrase. And so what they want you to do is to scroll through all the words, right, and in the proper order, and press both buttons to select each word. And they want you to confirm every single word in the proper order to make sure that you've documented it correctly. So go ahead and do that now. And when you're all done, you can hit next step. And so you may get some information displayed like we can see here on screen, right? And they're repeating a lot of the things that we covered already, that this recovery phrase works like a unique master key. And again, they're reminding you that if you were to lose your Nano, that all you need is this recovery phrase and you can restore access to your crypto by simply getting a new hardware wallet and using the restore recovery phrase on a new device option. And when you're ready, you can hit get started. And now the next step of the process is they're telling you to hide your recovery phrase. All right, and you can see they're kind of really drilling this point here that this phrase is the way that you get access to your crypto. If for whatever reason you cannot use your Nano device, if it breaks or whatever the case may be, and so you must keep this recovery phrase safe. And so they have some recommendations about that. They're saying not to enter it on a computer or a smartphone, right? Don't save these words into a document on your computer. Don't put them in a note on your smartphone. You want to keep this offline and in a safe place. And finally, never share your 24 words with anyone. No one will ever ask you for these words, not even Ledger. So you can click here if you want to see how they recommend how to hide it. And so again, they're saying not to keep it on a computer. Don't take a picture of it on your phone. Never share these words with anyone. Always keep it secure and out of sight, right? Ledger will never ask you for these words. And if anyone or any app on the internet is asking you to enter these words, you should assume that it is 100% a scam. And once you've reviewed all this information, you can go ahead and press the OK, I'm done button. And you can tell how important they think this is, right? They actually forced us to review that list that we just looked at a moment ago, right? In case you skipped over learn how to hide it, they want to make sure you read this, right? So now I'm going to click get started. And we've got a 3-question quiz to answer that help avoid common misconceptions about this hardware wallet. So we'll take the quiz. And so hopefully you know the answers to these questions as we're going through them. I'll take a pause before I select the answer to give you a chance to answer it yourself, right? And we'll get started with question number 1. As a Ledger user, my crypto is stored A, on my Ledger Nano, or B, on the blockchain? And the answer would be that it's stored on the blockchain because our crypto is not actually on the device. The crypto that we own is accounted for on the digital ledger on the blockchain. It's not on a physical device. All right, and they're affirming that here. Our crypto is always stored on the blockchain. The hardware wallet only holds that key, which gives you access to it. So go to the next question, number 2. If someone else gets access to my secret recovery phrase, it's either no problem as long as I still know what it is, or my assets become vulnerable and that person could have access to them. So hopefully this is an easy one for you here. And you pick the second choice here, that our assets become vulnerable, right? Because anyone with that key would be able to load up that set of accounts and do what they please with that crypto, right? So they're telling us additionally that if, God forbid, we ever lost it, right, we should quickly act to transfer our crypto to a separate wallet. Hopefully we're never in that situation in the first place, but if that seed phrase ever became compromised, we would want to create a brand new wallet with a brand new seed phrase and get our crypto out of there while we still can. Because if somebody finds that seed phrase, then they've got the key to that set of accounts. All right, so we'll go to the final question. When I connect my Ledger Nano to the Ledger Live app, my private key is still offline or briefly connected to the internet. And the answer to this would be still offline. These devices do not connect to the internet, which is why we actually use the Ledger Live app in the first place. And so that's it. We're all done with the quiz. So I'll hit finish quiz and we'll click on next step here. And then the Ledger Live app is going to do confirmation to make sure that the physical device that we have is authentic, right? And from the manufacturer. So you want to make sure that your device is connected to the USB and also plugged into your laptop or your computer, whatever you're using right now. And I'll hit the check my Nano button here, and my device timed out. We went through that setup flow. So what I need to do is enter my PIN that I set up to unlock it. Then we'll click retry. And we'll get this acknowledgement on the physical device as well, which I can see in front of me. And there we go. We're all good. Our Ledger Nano X is genuine and ready to use with Ledger Live. So we'll hit continue. And we can hit continue on any release notes that pop up. And so one thing that you may find is that there's another plug here for the Ledger Recover service. This is an optional service where they have a third-party encryption service to help you protect that recovery phrase. And this is done in a pretty unique way. They kind of split the seed phrase into different pieces, and it goes to 3 separate stakeholders, and no one has a full copy of the recovery phrase. And you end up setting a know your customer profile with them, and therefore you're the only one who can actually request that the pieces of the seed phrase be sent back to you. But this is optional. You don't need to do it. It does cost $9.99 a month if this is something that you think that you need, but it is something that you can decide to just do in the future if you feel like that service would benefit you, right? But we can talk about other options that you have for, keeping that recovery phrase intact. You don't have to use a service like this. And I'm not necessarily against this, but it's not something that I personally choose to use. And so I'm gonna click the X on this just to get out of it. Okay, now if your device is still unlocked, it's gonna prompt you to allow a secure connection, and you'll see a notice on your physical device as well that you need to acknowledge by tapping both buttons. And when you do, it will pop you inside the Ledger Live dashboard. And this is actually when you open Ledger Live on your computer going forward. This is what the Ledger Live app will look like. And the Ledger Live app is not something that we're going to be hopping into routinely. This is mostly a one-time setup here. And you may occasionally have to use the Ledger Live app to maybe update the physical device. And at this point, there's only a couple more things we need to do to finish configuring our device. But there was a lot going on in this video here, so we'll cut this one right here, and we will finish setting up the device in the next lesson.